Hello, grade 7s. I'm your teacher for this afternoon, or it's midday. I'm your teacher for today, and I'm going to take you through the synonyms, antonyms, and complex nouns. I want to believe that now you'll enjoy the lesson, as we've got a new teacher in front of you who is going to share this content with you for us to see how differently can we apply the this content of synonyms, antonyms, and complex nouns. Now, as we get started, I'm going to start the presentation with a question. I'm going to ask you a question. And the question is on the screen, as you can see. What is a synonym? I want you to tell me what is a synonym. What do you know about it? Then I believe that now you are sharing some ideas with your peers in as far as synonyms are concerned, definition of a synonym, because that's what I want you to give me. Now we say a synonym is a word that has a similar meaning to that of another word. I want to believe that now you have a similar explanation of a synonym, a word that has a similar meaning to that of another word, which means you can replace one word with another word without changing the meaning of a sentence. Because synonyms, a pair of words or more than two words that mean the same thing. So it means if you replace a synonym word by another word, which is a synonym, the meaning of a sentence is not going to change. So we still maintain the meaning of a sentence. Now let's look at the examples of a synonym. I know that now some of you have already come up with the examples of synonyms, but let's share this one together. Let me share this one together with you. Look at this one. Pleased. It's a synonym of glad. Pleased. It's a synonym of glad. Then you can say in a sentence, I am pleased that the results are finally out. Or you can say, I'm glad that the results are finally out. Now, when you look at the two sentences, a synonym is used there, pleased, glad, which means the meaning of the sentence hasn't changed, because pleased means the same as glad. Now, let's go back to the definition of a synonym, a word that has a similar meaning to that of another word. So I want you to keep that in mind as we go on. And I know some of you are quite familiar with the synonyms, but we are just going through this together to remind one another and also to support those who are struggling with synonyms in terms of what part of speech is this. What is a synonym? Now let's move further now to an antonym. Remember that now I said I'm going to share with you synonyms and antonyms. Now, an antonym. What is an antonym? What is an antonym? Then I'm going to give you a few seconds to think about an antonym and also say in your own words what an antonym is. If you can't get it, you can share the ideas, you can discuss together with your peer to come up with a definition of what an antonym is. Now, let's compare your responses with mine that I'm going to project on the screen. Perhaps I want to believe that now you've got something similar to this. Is that not so? An antonym is a word that is opposite in meaning to another word. When we say something is opposite to another, it means they are different. They are not the same. So unlike in synonyms and antonym, the word that you give is opposite to another. It gives a different meaning to another. I'm sure as I'm saying this, you are thinking of the examples of an antonym that you are going to give to me immediately when I begin to ask you to give me those examples. And I know that now some of you are coming up quite well with those examples. Now let's say, let's go. Here, it means when you replace one word with another in a sentence, the meaning of the sentence changes. You see, it's not the same like in the synonyms. With this one, when you replace an antonym, one word with another which carries a different meaning, it means the meaning of the sentence changes. Now, I want us to look at some examples of antonyms. Besides the one that you already have on your piece of paper, or the ones that you already have in mind, let us look at these ones. An example of an antonym. Smooth, it's an antonym, not a synonym. I'm sorry for this one. Smooth, it's an antonym of rough. This is not a synonym. We need to correct that. It's an antonym. Smooth, it's an antonym of rough. And then we come to this one. Let's use it in a sentence. You say the table has a smooth surface. The surface of the table is smooth. It's not rough, it's smooth. But immediately, when you replace smooth with its antonym, it says the table has a rough surface. You see the difference now. The surface is no longer smooth, but in this instance, it's rough. Now, I want you to think of other antonyms that you have come across or that you dealt with in your classroom, and then try to compile the list, and then you use them in sentences. Very important, remember, it's important for us to be able to use any part of speech in a sentence of your own. Now, as we are dealing with antonyms and synonyms, I'm going to read a text for you. And from this text, I'm going to ask you to identify from the text to identify the synonyms and the antonyms. Then at the end of it all, I'm going to request you to circle the synonyms in the text that we are going to read and to underline the antonyms. Now let's look at the text. I've got this text for you. Read the paragraph and write 3. It's not 3, it's 3. 3. Another error here. This is not, okay, let me show you with a cursor. This is not 3, but it's 3. There is an error there, a spelling error that I would like you to take care of. It's 3, not 3. Tree, it's a plant. We have trees. A tree is a plant. It grows from the soil, from the ground. Now 3, it's a number. So you have to put in an H tag to correct that spelling. Now let's read the text together. Larry and Phillips went to collect some items in the woods for their science project. Their plan was to go for 1 hour and get as much as they could. As they began, their scheme was working because they were gathering many items, including moss, wildflowers, tree barks, fence, and grass. They had an enormous pile of stuff, and it was beginning to be too much to carry. Because they had such a collection, they had to slow their pace of collecting items. Their pile was getting huge, so they had a fight over what items to keep. In their dispute, Larry thought they could keep the wildflowers, but Philip did not. They finally agreed about what to keep and finished their searching. As they went home, they noticed the rocks that they used to guide them into the forest were gone. They had nothing to lead them back. They were lost. Larry was very afraid, but Philip was determined and discovered their way back home. In the end, Larry and Philip got an A+ on their science project, which was worth their adventure. Now, this is a text. Remember that now, the essence here, I want us to look at how the synonyms and the antonyms are used in this text before we come and formulate our own before we come and give our own synonyms and antonyms, and very important, we've got to be in a position to use them in a sentence. That, my grade 7s, it's very important. You identify a synonym or an antonym, then you must be in a position to use it in a text. Now, I'm going to read this text to you for the last time. And from there now we'll get to the activities as far as the synonyms and the antonyms are concerned. Now I read. Larry and Philip went to collect some items in the woods for their science project. Their plan was to go for 1 hour and get as much as they could. As they began, their scheme was working because they were gathering many items including moss, wildflowers, tree barks, fence, and grass. They had an enormous pile of stuff. It was beginning to be too much to carry. Because they had such a collection, they had to slow their pace of collecting items. Their pile was getting huge, so they had a fight over what items to keep. In their dispute, Larry thought they could keep the wildflowers, but Philip did not. They finally agreed about what to keep and finished their searching. As they went home, they noticed the rocks that they used to guide them into the forest were gone. They had nothing to lead them back. They were lost. Larry was very afraid, but Philip was determined and discovered their way back home. In the end, Larry and Philip got an A+ on their science project, which was well worth their adventure. That is a text that we shared together. Now, what I want you to do, my grade 7s, is to give me 3 pairs of synonyms and 3 pairs of antonyms from the text. Now, how are we going to go about that? This is what we are going to do. Now, what I'm going to ask you to do from that text, I'm going to ask you to circle the synonyms. I'm going to ask you to circle the synonyms from this text. You are going to circle all the synonyms from that text. The 3 pairs of synonyms. You are going to circle the synonyms. And then you are also going to underline the antonyms. Now, let's listen to the instruction carefully, because this is how we are going to start it. You circle the synonyms. Now let's look at the synonyms for us to circle from this text. Let's look at the synonyms. We say from this text we have synonyms. Let's check what do we have there. We have, okay, let's say we have collect. You see the first line here? We have collect, and then we circle collect. We identify the synonyms and circle them. We have collect. Now collect, the synonym of collect is gathering. Now we have to look for gathering. Here it is. We have collect and gathering. Collect and gathering, these are two words that are similar in meaning, which means they mean the same thing. Now remember that now I asked you to circle 3 pairs of synonym. Now the first pair is that one. It's gathering and collect. And then the second pair, let us look at this one. We have plan. Their plan. Which word in the text means almost the same as plan? Can you look for that? Let me give you seconds to look for that word. The word that means, that carries a similar meaning as plan is, yes, you are right, it's scheme. You see, this, it's a synonym of plan. Scheme, their scheme or their plan did not work. Now we have those 2 pairs. Now we have to look for the last one, because I asked you to look at 3 pairs of synonyms. And then let's look at another one. When you look at paragraph 2, we have a word here, huge, huge, huge. Their pile was getting huge, which means it was getting bigger and bigger. Now let's look from the very same text. Which word means the same as huge? I'll give you some seconds to think about that one. Yes, you are right. We have here enormous. We have here enormous. They had an enormous pile of stuff, or they had a huge pile of stuff. So we have enormous and we have huge. These 2 words, we say they are the synonyms because they carry the same meaning. Now, what we have to do, let us look at how these synonyms are used in a text, so that now the examples that we are going to provide at the end, they are going to give us, we are going to use them in context with the text that we have read. Now, Larry and Philip went to collect some items. You collect some items. Okay, let's move to the second last sentence of paragraph 1, where now we have gathering. Because they were gathering many items, or because they were collecting many items. You see how these words are used in a text. So it's very important that now when you give a synonym, you are able to form sentences. You are able to use that word in context. In other words, you do not just identify words and not being able to use them in your own sentences. Now, after you have seen how these words are used, it means you can now find other synonyms, and also very important, try to use them in your own sentences, because that will deepen your understanding of the meaning of these words. Now we have, their plan was to go for 1 hour. We can also say their scheme was to go for 1 hour, because plan and scheme, these 2 words carry the same meaning. Now we can say their plan was working because, you see, it says their scheme was working because. You can also say substitute this, replace this scheme with a plan, then you say their scheme was working because. Now after that, now you have seen how these words are used in a sentence. Then you can begin to formulate your own sentences using the same words. In this instance, you use your own sentences using the same words. Do you think you'll be able to do that, grade 7s? I strongly believe so. I strongly believe that now you'll be able to do that. Now let's come to the third pair now. We say here they had an enormous pile of stuff. Or we can say they had a huge pile of stuff. In other words, we can replace enormous with huge because the two words carry the same meaning. Now let's look at how huge it's used here. Their pile was getting huge, so that their pile was getting huge, so they had a fight over what items to keep. Or we can say their pile was getting enormous, so they had a fight over what items to keep. Can you see how these words are used in a text? Now, do you think you are in a position to form your own sentences with the synonyms that we have identified? Will you? I so much believe that you'll be able to form your own sentences with the identified synonyms. And you know that now synonyms are words that have a similar meaning. Now, my second instruction to you, if you remember, was underline the antonyms in a sentence. Now you are going to underline the antonyms. You circled the synonyms. Now you have to underline the antonyms. Now let's look from that third paragraph, I believe. Let's look at that one. We'll have here, in their dispute, Larry thought they could keep the wildflowers, but Philip did not. They finally agreed about what to keep and finish their searching. Okay? As they went home, they noticed the rocks that they used to guide them into the forest were gone. Now let's try to look at an antonym. I have this word here. I've got this word here. What word do I have now? Okay. Let's move back to paragraph 1. We have began. Began. Now let's look at the word that gives a different meaning to that, to begin. Which word gives a different meaning there? Then we have to hunt for that word. Ne? We have to hunt for that word, for the word that looks for a different meaning. Now, look at where I find the word. Look at where I find the word. Finished. Now we have began and we have finished. They finally agreed about what to keep and finished their searching. But when you say they finally agreed about what to keep and began their searching, you see it gives a different meaning. This is the opposite of that. So it gives a different meaning, the opposite. Now let's look at another pair, if we can find any. I'm not sure if I'm going to find another pair. I have here, their pile was getting huge, so they had to fight. Let me check. They had to fight And then which word will go along with fight? I'm trying to look for a word that can, or the opposite, the word that is of opposite meaning to this. If I can get it in the text here. Dispute, it's not, it becomes a synonym. Fight or dispute, that becomes a synonym. And then let us try to look for it, grade 7s. Okay, let's forget about fight because I picked up another word. I picked up another word here, which is lost. Let us underline this one, lost, and we also underline discovered. It's lost and discovered. Then we have, they were lost, but Philip was determined and discovered. They were lost, and this one they discovered. We say the two words are the opposite. They give an opposite, they are the antonyms, as they give an opposite meaning to one another. Now from here, you'll write this, the words that you underlined below here. You'll write the words that you have underlined and then that you have circled as antonyms, as synonyms, and the one that you have underlined as antonyms. That will be what is required of you. That is what you'll have to do. And let me give you more activities now. Let's look at more activities that we are going to do here. Okay, that one will go because we have already dealt with this. We have already dealt with this, and then I'll just pass it quickly. I'll pass this quickly, and then we'll go that, and then we pass this one quickly, and then we come to this one. More activities on synonyms and antonyms. In the box, I've got a list of synonyms and antonyms. Now, what I want you to do, grade 7s, is to write pairs of synonyms and pairs of antonyms together. You'll have to study all those words in a box for you to be able to write pairs of antonyms and pairs of synonyms. Let us first start with synonyms. Let us look at those, and then you circle all the synonyms, and then you underline the antonyms from that box. Circle the synonyms and underline the antonyms. That is your activity that I'll give you some few minutes to complete before we come and compare the answers that we've got. I believe that now you are working in pairs, grade 7s, as you are doing this activity. You are working in pairs as you are busy with this activity of pairing the synonyms together and the antonyms together. This is just an extra activities because you'll find that now the words that are in the box, these are the words that we do not get them in a text. What does it mean? It means when you deal with a text, you try to identify all the synonyms and the antonyms. You make sentences with those, and thereafter, as an extended activity to deepen your understanding of the concepts, then you can deal with words that do not necessarily appear in the text, like the ones that you have in this box now. We have the original, and it's not there. We have believe, retreat, habitat, remove, humorous, fragile, discipline, delay, unaware, surroundings, ruin, disturb, certain, accomplish, keep, depress, deny, and the rest. So you'll have all those words that you'll use to form pairs of antonyms and pairs of synonyms. And to make it simple for you, you can start by circling one word. Let's take an example, original. You circle an original. Then you say which word it's similar in meaning to original, or it gives you an opposite of an original. That's how you can start it. You say, oh, original. Is there a word in this word box that carries the same meaning as original? Or is there a word in the word box that is different in meaning, opposite in meaning as original? That's how we are going to go about it. Now, from here, let us look at the words now. We say we are going to start with the synonyms. Okay, myself, I have circled a word here, and the word that I have is depress. You see depress? This word, I circled the word depress, and then I say depress. This word carries the same meaning as sadden. So the two words are the synonyms because their meaning is similar. They are the synonyms. Now let's try to complete this activity and look at other list of words that we have here. Okay, just a sec. I've got to remove this one. What's happening now here? Okay. I'm not sure about what's happening, but I'll get it right. Okay. Okay, I've got it right now. We have, let's compare. Compare your answers with the following. Synonyms, depress, sadden. Do you have it right? I believe so. If not, then you'll do your own corrections. Delicate, fragile. Surroundings, habitat. Hesitate, delay. Upset, disturb. Unaware, ignorant, and lastly we have imitate, original. Imitate, original. This can't be a synonym. This can't be a synonym. It's a mistake here, the grade 7s. This can't be a synonym because imitate, and that one is in original. These are the antonyms, not the synonyms. This is a big mistake. So, but it's okay that now we are picking it right away for you to correct it. These are this imitate and original. These are the antonyms, not the synonyms. Those are the antonyms, not the synonyms. And then we have desire or wish. I wish to have a new car. I desire for a new car. You see, because they carry the same meaning. You come to any, in your garden, you say the flowers are very delicate. Delicate, they can break easily. The flowers are fragile. They are not strong enough. They are fragile. They can just break. Their stems can break easily. And then we say the habitat or the surroundings, which is a place where somebody or people or animals live. Like, for instance, if you take an example, a fish, its surrounding is water. It lives in water, which means water is its habitat. You hesitate to do something, you delay, or you procrastinate. You hesitate, you delay, you are upset if you are upset or you are disturbed by something. So these words, you've got to be able to use them in sentences. Now let's move over to the antonyms. Antonyms. Compare your answers with the following. Remember that now these all come from the word box that we had. That word box is very important. We have antonyms now. Believe, deny. These are words that are opposing each other. Believe, deny. I do not believe, I deny. And then you have discipline, chaos. There was discipline in the classroom. Even though the teacher was not present in the classroom, but there was discipline in the classroom. In some other classes, once the teacher leaves the classroom, chaos begins. So those words are antonyms, as they carry an opposite meaning to each other. Humorous, it's serious. Humorous, you know, that guy is very funny, it's humorous. But you are always so serious. If you are not serious, you are humorous, you see. So humorous person is a person that, you know, it's fun to be around such people. It's fun to be next to someone who is humorous. But now a serious person scares you a little bit. Humorous scares. Oh, this guy is always so serious. Né? And then let's look at another one. Accomplish, fail. I've got a mission to accomplish. Or it's either you accomplish or you fail. You reach your goal or you fail to reach your goal. And then we have remove, you keep. You remove all the unwanted material in your school bag, and you only keep those that you need. You only keep those that you need. You proceed or you retreat. You proceed, you move forward. Or if you're not moving forward, then you're going backwards, you retreat. And in life, we've got to proceed. You proceed. It's either you proceed or you retreat. Now remember to use those in a sentence. It's very important. You ruin my plans, or you ruin my picture, or you repair it. You've got to repair it. My toy, you ruined it, or you've got to repair it. Now we have discipline. The last one here, we have discipline or chaos. Oh, this one is repeating itself. Can you see here we have discipline here, the second word? And then lastly, I still have discipline. That is repeating itself. Now my grade 7s and the rest of the intermediate phase learners, these are the antonyms and the synonyms that we've done together, that I've done together with you today. And I want to believe that now you still remember what a synonym is and what an antonym is. It's very important not to forget those. And as long as you know the meaning of a synonym, you keep it in mind, and you're not going to forget it if you keep on identifying. As you read any text, you begin to identify the opposite of some of the words or the synonym of some of the words, then you'll forever remember. You'll know what a synonym is and what an antonym is. Now let's move over to the third concept now, because I was supposed to treat 3 concepts with you: synonyms, antonyms. And I want to believe that now my grade 7s, you now understand fully what a synonym is and what an antonym is. We have also provided you with a lot of examples, and your teachers will also give you a lot of activities on those. And they are not going to give you activities in isolation, but they are going to treat these concepts in a context so that now you know how the words are used in a context. Now, the third concept that I have to do with you is, let me check, complex nouns. Now we are going to do complex nouns. What is a complex noun? Remember, we always need to start with the definition, and I'll give you a chance to come up with your own definition so that now by the time I project the definition of a complex noun on the screen, then you'll be able to compare your own response with what I will project on the screen. Now in few seconds, just try to think of complex nouns. And I know that now in some instances you have dealt them in the previous grades, you have already dealt with the complex nouns, or in your own reading you have come across complex nouns and you have an idea, and some of you know very well what complex nouns are. Now I want you to come up with a definition of a complex noun. What do you think is a complex noun? What is a complex noun? Okay, then we say a complex noun, come on, what's the definition? Yes, now compare it with this one. A complex noun is a compound noun that is, oh, the spelling error once more, that is formed when is put together with another part of speech. A complex noun is a compound noun that is formed when is put together with another part of speech. Now, let us look, because after the definition of a concept, we need to intensify it with examples for us to be able to understand, to have a better understanding of what it means. Now let's look at the following. E.g., we have a hair, and this is a noun. And then you have cut, which is a verb. Cut and hair, when you write it as one word, it becomes hair cut. To clear? We have hair, which is a noun, and we have cut, which is a verb. Now when you bring this cut and hair, you form one word with these two words. We have what we call a hair cut. Another example. It's sun plus rise. We've got two words, sun and rise. Now when we form one word with these two words, we have sunrise. Now we have sunrise. Now in few seconds, let me give you a chance to come up with your own examples. Just talk a bit with your peer, your friend next to you, and then you'll be able to come up with others. Okay. Now, let me give you this. Let me give you this now. Here, I have a list of words that I want you to put together to form a complex noun. Now, form complex nouns using the following words: chair, table, light, work, arm, house, brush, tooth, home, spoon. Now I want you to form complex nouns out of these words. In other words, you join the words together to form a complex noun. Okay? I'm giving you just a few seconds for you to do that. Okay. Now let's try to check what is it that you came up with. Let's look at what you came up with. Compare your answers with the following. Arm plus chair, we have armchair. Do you have it, grade 7s? Yes. Now we have home plus work, we have homework. Now we have table plus spoon, we have tablespoon. And then we have light plus house, we have lighthouse. And then lastly we have tooth plus brush, you have toothbrush. Now can you think of other words besides the one projected on the screen that we can use to form a compound noun? Can you think of other words? Talk to your peer. Yes, there are a number of words that we can use to form compound nouns. And at this stage, my dear grade 7s, it's the end of our lesson. And I want you to go and revise this concept, the 3 concepts that I have dealt with: synonyms, antonyms, and complex nouns. I want you to play around those words and play with them as often as possible, so that now you strengthen your understanding of the concepts and you make sure that you do not forget these concepts as you move over to the next grades. On that note, thank you very much for spending your time with me. I really appreciate it a lot, and enjoy your weekend.